Hey, it's George. I just want to say thank you for listening to this Trainer Spotlight episode. Let's not waste any time and get right into it. Coach, what's going on? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
My name is Jackson Lohr, and I am a personal trainer. I operate out of the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. If you know where the University of Virginia is, that's not far away from me, just right in the mountains there. I have been training for about 6 years now. I have my undergraduate degree from Messiah College or Messiah University in athletic training in sports medicine, and then I have my master's degree in strength and conditioning from Liberty University. I spent some time in the athletic training world, working in that world, in that industry. I think I spent a grand total of 3 years. Yeah, 3 years working full time in that industry while also starting my business during that time. Um, I own Fitness for Life. That's my business as a mostly online personal trainer, focusing on helping people 55. I'm saying almost 60 and up now, helping people 60 and up essentially reduce the effects of aging. Um, Particularly, I'm working with unique cases, people who have unique anatomy, whether from birth defects, disability, people who have chronic pain for 20 plus years, people who have not really been well served by the physical therapy industry, and really just helping them, build confidence in their bodies again, build confidence in their strength, improve bone density, and eventually, kind of along with all of those things, reduce their chronic pain. My goal, my mission with that is that no one has to be limited by anything that a doctor would tell you, and along those lines, that people get to live on their own terms is the goal, um, and to die on their own terms. Now, obviously, that's not completely the case for everybody, but that's the goal. That's the ideal.
It's great getting to know you as a coach, but you're not a coach 24/7. So, can you tell me a funny or interesting story about yourself that happened either in your practice as a coach or in your normal life outside of coaching?
All right, so this will give you a picture into just one of my passions. But so I went to undergrad for athletic training, and that's what my initial background is in sports medicine. But the very first time I was on the sideline of a game, it was for a conference championship game. I attended Messiah College, and they won lots of those when it comes to soccer, especially. Um, and I myself am a very passionate soccer player, and had not yet gotten down sideline etiquette as an athletic trainer. And this is my very first time. And I started yelling instructions to the players who were more skilled and knowledgeable than I, from the sideline, from behind the coaches, as an athletic training student. I think I was a freshman at the time. Yeah, it would have been my first year. And I started getting some looks from the coaches, and then at one point, one of the coaches turns around and uh, essentially chastises me for and says like, "Hey, we'll give uh, we'll give the instructions to our players. Thank you." And essentially tells me in a relatively nice way to shut up. And so that that is that was the first and hopefully the last time that I was told to shut up on a sideline just because of talking to players. Now, um, that it took me it did not take me long to get that across, that that was a serious thing, but it certainly was natural for me to yell instructions, as having been a captain for the last few years of my high school soccer team, and us having done rather well. So that was, yeah, just a little window into uh, another one of my passions. But
What strategies do you use to attract and retain clients in your personal training business? I think we can all learn from each other here, and we'll probably find some answers to be quite similar to one another. But I'm really interested to hear what strategies and things you use to get new clients and keep the ones you currently have.
So one thing I use, which is pretty common, is a nurturing free Facebook group. Um, so I have a free Facebook group that has a couple hundred members at this point, and I use that as a method of gaining new clients, and also as clients are kind of graduating out of the system, that's a good way to keep in touch with them, and make sure that they're still getting information, motivation, whatever it is they need. Um, I do a couple of different things. So I do a free class, 4-part class over the course of the year that I do with our local library, and that's aimed at senior citizens, older adults, kind of following that population that I serve. And then I do the same for a local college that has a lifelong learning institute, which is again aimed at those who are retired. Um, and so I teach a class to them of really kind of reframing. I call it reframing fitness, and essentially the idea is to provide some solid information to people who don't quite know where to look and turn in a world that is so inundated with potentially bad information. And so that's my goal with that, is just to give them some solid information to answer their questions in a real way, that give them actionable strategies that they can take and immediately apply to their health, and well-being, and to really improve that right away. In terms of retaining clients, in the personal training business, I really think it depends on what you're looking for. Most of my clients stay for a year or more. That's you really just about getting them results and building a good relationship with them. And then I think also vetting your clients well is part of that, which I'm getting better at each and every year, and kind of narrowing that focus each and every year to more unique cases, the people who have more longer term pain. Um, yeah.
Let's say you get a new client. What's your process for assessing their fitness level, addressing their goals, and other things they express as being important? We all have different methods and can learn a lot from each other. Let's open the door and share some of our secrets.
Okay, so because my clients tend to be older and tend to have unique challenges in relation to their pain, my assessment process might look a little bit different, in that I'm really relying pretty heavily on history with exercise, history with training, usually history with physical therapy, chiropractic, massage, just understanding what modalities, what surgeries even they've had done. Because usually, if I'm getting a new client, it's somebody who's either a candidate for a surgery, or they've already had at least one, if not multiple, different surgeries, whether that's reconstructions, fusions, and the like. Potentially a lot of nerve ablations. Those are the kinds of clients I usually work with. And with that in mind, I can get a pretty solid picture through most of, really just through conversation and through a good intake process, of understanding, one, what their main challenges and obstacles are, and kind of their current fitness level. But two, understanding what kind of goals they want to pursue because usually that's okay. I want to move more efficiently. I want to walk. The one I get often is like I want to be able to walk on my own again. Without needing walking sticks or a walker or a cane. Um, and that's sort of it gives you an easy way to understand, what the fitness level is. Now, obviously everybody's a little bit different. And I've had somebody surprise me where, this lady in particular could not walk on her own, had a lot of problems with the balance and coordination aspect of things. Um, and yet her upper body strength was tremendous compared to her size. And so you get some that challenge your assumptions and expectations working long ways away, but that's definitely something that I think you can get a lot out of just a quick, a really thorough intake.
I'm a huge fan of continuing education, and I'm building Fitlete to give trainers more efficient access to education that solves their clients' problems. We all look at problem solving differently, and taking different courses, obtaining certifications, and going to new conferences can help us learn from one another. How do you continually develop your skill set as a trainer?
So in terms of certifications that I hold, I'll say hold and have held, and just kind of lump these guys into one. I have been a certified athletic trainer, licensed by the Board of Virginia to practice athletic training by the State Board of Medicine. I got my master's degree in exercise science, as I mentioned. I'm a certified Girls Gone Strong women's coaching specialist. I am certified in RPR Level 1, which is Reflexive Performance Reset. Great course if you want to check that out. I have been certified as a performance enhancement specialist through NASM. And I think there might be one or two other that I'm forgetting about. The more you get, the more you kind of start to forget a little bit. But I think that is it. In terms of keeping up with the latest trends and research, social media can be a powerful tool for that, especially following people like yourself, George, who keep the rest of us a little bit more updated. And just those of our friends who are always sharing some more of the trends and newer research is really helpful for a busy dad like myself. Um, I think one of the things is subscribing to some of those journals and having them drop directly in my email inbox is also nice. There are certain email subscriptions that'll allow you to do that. I have a couple of those. And then for me, a good resource for me has been Robert Linkle and his training the older adult program, and he does a really good job of keeping up with some of the newer research related to especially older adults and the clientele that I serve. So that's been tremendous as well. Obviously, on top of that, I try to make it to at least one, fitness conference event per year. If I had my way, I'd go to all of them, but I try and make it to at least one, and that helps keep me up to date and keep me in contact with good coaches.
The fitness industry is rapidly evolving before our eyes. How do you envision your personal training business evolving with it in the next few years? I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this because we have to plan for the future and a future we want for our business. And while all of our businesses might have the same basic goal of helping people with their fitness, we can structure them in very different ways from one another.
So for this, it's certainly something I've considered. What does it look like in the next few years? I would say the biggest thing for me is I'm getting more and more specific about exactly who I'm serving and how I'm doing that. And so I'm doing less of sort of the lower tier, like, here's a program, go do it kind of coaching, which is not, it's not something I charge a lot for, but it's also not something that tends to yield the best results. And so I'm leaning much more towards, very keen focus on the high client touch, the people who really need help, the people who are ready for it. Um, Really leaning into that, and how can I provide for the people who have been in pain for 20, 30, 40 plus years, and just learning more and more about the way that I can serve those clients best in is probably more multifaceted than I currently do. Currently my biggest expertise, I can, you know, I do very well with the training aspect of things. I do a good job with the nutrition aspect of things, but I think where my business would thrive is also bringing in more of the the psychosocial aspect of the biopsychosocial model, and really kind of improving my skills in order to help my clients better in that area, in those areas. And so that's where I see my business evolving, is getting more specific, and improving the way I serve clients in those ways. So that's certainly how I see my business evolving, and I think it's going to be, obviously, I think my clients are going to benefit as a result, and hopefully the business does as well.
I know challenges are all over the place in the fitness industry and personal training. Information is available in different formats. Clients are more easily misled by gurus and charlatans. Social media's influence is becoming more and more ingrained in people's lives. And now we have AI. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges currently facing the fitness and personal training industry?
I think the biggest challenge overall is that it can simply be boiled down to a lack of trust, in the industry as a whole. I think there's been so much that's just generally not served the overwhelming population, especially towards women. Women have not been served well by the general fitness industry, as a whole, up until, I would say, pretty recently. And I say obviously there's still some bad actors in the industry, who are not serving people well. You're going to have that in any industry, but when it comes to encouraging the right things and promoting the right things, not just the thing that's going to make a quick buck, um, that has lost a lot of trust, in the industry. And so I think that's why I can have a class that of mostly seniors, mostly senior women, who are all just trying to find good information, solid information, so that they can be confident when they go into a fitness center that they know what they're doing, or when they go grocery shopping for their weekly nutrition, that they know what they're doing. And so that's something that's an obstacle as an industry, as leaders within the industry, that people will have to overcome, is just that lack of trust, that's been established over the last, really, I'd say probably 50 years, that's kind of told women to be skinny, and which the what I'm seeing, the results of that is that most of the women I serve are fall into essentially one of two categories. They're either obese from yo-yo dieting and giving up constantly, and trying all these different things and nothing really working, because they're not it was never designed to work for them. um, or they're in this position where they're so small and so frail from those things actually working in what they thought was working, but they have no muscle mass. And so now not only are they at risk for their bone health, and but they're also at risk for a fall. They're also at risk for maybe dementia, which we know can be exacerbated by this. And so those are the things that I'm focusing on, trying to provide some assistance with, and trying to overcome those obstacles and kind of rewrite that story for people to provide them the confidence that can change their life.
Jackson, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of the great info about yourself. Jackson and I met each other at the Raise the Bar conference not too long ago. I think it was 2 years ago at this point. And we've been in regular contact with one another since that conference. And to the degree that this year at the most recent 2025 Real Coaches Summit, we were roommates together in Vegas. These types of conferences build relationships on top of giving great information. And it's great because they last outside of the conference. And that's kind of rare. I'm glad you guys got to know Jackson a little bit more through this episode. And if you want to get to know him more on your own terms, check out the show notes to find out how to contact him best. And that's all for this episode. If you want to learn more about Fitlete and possibly get your own episode, visit fitlete.com. That's fitlete.com. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.